Thank you. We're going to shift gears to our school connections.
Hi Bonnie, I'm Carol Fallinger. I live on Kew Road. I've been a resident here for 5 years. And I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about city-school relations. It is hard to dispute the interdependence of our public schools in the city, yet close and supportive relationships are not a given. What is the city government's role relative to the Cleveland Heights University Heights schools and the Board of Ed?
Well, our role has really been, in many ways, it's symbiotic. Who comes into the schools lives in the community. Who lives in the community hopefully will go to the schools. Not always true, and hasn't always been, has forever not been true, that a large proportion of the children in our community have always gone to a range of schools, parochial and private and alternative, and that's always been the case. I think that working together is a major necessity for the community. It doesn't always happen for a whole range of reasons. Most of them are personalities and different visions. It's got to be a two-way view of this. It's not just the city. The city does in our focuses, on our television station, we always promote the schools. When the children have done something wonderful, whether it's at an elementary school, a high school, one of the junior highs, we bring the kids in with their parents, whether it's academic or athletic, and we praise them and take pictures and put it up and do those kinds of things. And we do promote the schools, and we have a very strong history of doing that. We don't always agree with some of the decisions, and the school has a point of view that they educate whoever comes. But I also do think that the school can encourage in a variety of ways some families to send their children to the public school who might not necessarily choose the public school as their first choice. And there needs to be some recognition that not only do educate who comes, but you can, to some extent, try to influence who comes. And that would really be quite useful. It's a hard thing. We're an inner ring suburb, and the children who go to the public school, many of them don't have choices, like some of the other children who do have choices, whose families choose to do the best for their children. So some of the children come to our school system because that is the best that the parents can do, and other families have the financial wherewithal to make a variety of choices, but we need to help them see that our public schools could be the best choice. I think there is no school like Heights High. Any private school, any public school, there is no school like Heights High. And we need to get some other parents to hear about that and to be wooed if that's what it is. So yes, I think we have a symbiotic relationship and need to work harder on it.
A related question is, how can the city support the Cleveland Heights University Heights schools as a community asset and as a means to attract and retain families?
Well, again, you're talking to each other. Our police department has a very strong relationship with the security system in the schools. The now security director, I think this is his second year, had been a police officer, and they integrate quite well together, and it's probably the best relationship that they've had in a very long time. It makes me sad in one way that we do now have police officers in the high school, and last year I think was the first time that happened, and I felt bad about it. I'm glad that we could do it, but I'm sorry that it is perceived as being a necessity. Whether it is or not, I can't judge that. But we can promote a lot of things, and we do promote a lot of things. On the other hand, as I said, it is a symbiotic relationship. Having some games after school or at night games, whether it's football or basketball, having too many children in the building at those games, and these children come from different schools, does not lead to a calm dismissal. And if the police aren't notified about some of these events, it is not always a good thing for the neighborhood, and therefore it makes the neighbors not happy. So there's this whole thing about paying attention to promoting the schools and what goes on in the schools, and we like to do that. We bring the students to the senior program so that they perform. We bring every fourth grader, every year comes to the community center to participate in all the activities so that they could go home and talk about what's available. And they come and they have lunch and they're bused there and it's fabulous. We do a lot of programming with the schools. All of those sports go on our fields or the schools' fields. The schools gave up doing baseball. We have taken off over the baseball. We have thousands of kids who participate in all kinds of sports. And we see the school children as being part of a community. So it's University Heights and Cleveland Heights and some South Euclid children who can participate in any of our sports programs. So we work on it a lot together, but there has to be that other point of view that what happens in the schools also does affect the neighborhood, and what can happen so that the neighborhoods are affected in a positive way. And I think communication is probably the biggest issue in all of that. So we got to keep those doors open. There's an election of school board people, and there's a new superintendent who I had the pleasure of meeting. And so I hope that some of the changes will really be positive. I'm looking forward to that.
Good, thank you. Change gears again to financial viability. The fiscal viability of our city government is critical to our success. The recent defeat of an income tax increase followed by the housing and employment crisis have diminished tax revenue and increased community needs. What do you believe will make our city government more financially sustainable?
Well, I think we are sustainable because we're realistic. When we began to see what was happening in the economy, we severely cut our budget so that we cut the budget in the middle of last year by $2 million. It was very hard to do because we didn't have a whole year to cut the budget. And then we have now cut another $1 million out for 2010. What that means is we let almost 100 people go. All the unions, all the workers, every worker has taken, or is taking as the year goes on, 10 days off unpaid. The unions too. No one got raises. Not the police, not the fire, not public works. No one got raises. And I suspect it's going to be another year of that. So that and we cut 100 people from the staff. It means that everybody's working harder, doing multiple kinds of jobs, being more efficient. Public Works is a wonderful example of efficiency. And a lot of things go on that you may or may not pay much attention to in Public Works, but they're the ones who take care of the ball fields. Besides picking up garbage and the leaves and snow plowing, they take care of the ball fields, clean the public bathrooms, do all kinds of things, do our garages and all of that. Well, a lot of stuff has to happen at night. And so instead of overtime, there is no more overtime. They began to switch shifts so that it's no longer 7 to 3 or 8 to 4. Some folks work 5 to 11 or 12 so that there are shifts that it's their regular hours. There's no overtime. And everybody has participated in that. And I don't know with a smile on their face, but I think at this point that having a job and the hours may not be so great is better than no job. And everybody's hopeful for the future that it will begin to change. So that kind of viability, paying attention to the bottom line, and we are really paying attention to the bottom line. How much we spend, paying attention. It's the topic that we talk about more than any other topic. And we talk about it at least twice a month. And you know, we meet every Monday night. So every week we're meeting and we always talk about money because we cannot afford to let this slip so that we can stay viable. It's important for a whole variety of reasons besides the fact that we don't print money, is that if we're not viable, we will lose our bond rating, which is really important. So we keep our bond rating, and we have tried to cut out the things that are not so necessary. I miss the flowers on the streets. I love the hanging baskets. Can't water them. There are a lot of things that we've cut back, but I think that we're doing a yeoman's job, and I'm comfortable that we will continue to do that.